Terminator is a franchise I'm sure you've heard of before. It's been referenced countless times in pop culture, and it has iconic characters that most people probably know all about at this point. So, today, we're going to be talking about what started it all. The first movie in this franchise, The Terminator. In this video, I'll briefly go over the history and production of The Terminator, and review every aspect of the film that matters. This review will be mainly spoiler-free, but it'll have a spoilered section, which I'll put a timestamp for in case you haven't seen the movie. The Terminator released on October 26, 1984. The movie released to praise from audiences and critics alike. It grossed over $78 million on a $6.4 million budget. The movie was an overall success, and the breakthrough role for many people's careers. Specifically, it helped James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger make a name for themselves in the film industry. Schwarzenegger was already known pretty well from his 1982 movie, Conan the Barbarian, but this revolutionary film would forever be one of the most iconic parts of his legacy. The film also includes a minor performance from Bill Paxton, who would go on to star in multiple other Cameron-directed movies, as well as many other movies throughout the film industry. Schwarzenegger was actually not the first choice to play the Terminator. James Cameron's first choice to play the Terminator was O.J. Simpson, but he wasn't cast because James Cameron felt that he wasn't believable as a killing machine. Before Michael Biehn went on to play the role of Kyle Reese, Arnold Schwarzenegger was originally set to helm the role instead. However, after Schwarzenegger and Cameron went to lunch together, James Cameron thought because of Schwarzenegger's thoughts on the character of the Terminator, he could play the character really well. And this was a choice that would prove fantastic, as Arnold's performance as the Terminator would go on to become one of the most memorable performances in all of cinema.
I'll be back.
Now, I love this film. I think it's one of the defining science fiction films of the 80s. The entire movie from start to finish feels very professionally directed. The general plot is simple: two missions from two competing factions intertwined. A human and a machine sent back in time. One with the goal of protecting a woman, Sarah Connor, and the other with the goal of relentlessly stopping at nothing to kill this woman. Sounds badass, right? Well, you'd be completely correct. The movie has a dark, gritty tone, which is consistent throughout. The color palette used throughout the movie's lighting is nothing short of amazing, with colors like red and blue being used consistently throughout the movie, especially in darker scenes set during the night. The cinematography is good enough that if you didn't already know the movie was shot on a budget of $6.4 million, you never would. The movie is very well written, but here and there it does get a bit hokey. However, these moments are few and far between. And don't take me out of the movie while watching. The movie plays with themes of free will and destiny, and the conflict between these two subjects as heroine Sarah Connor struggles with learning of the impending doom of the future, and her role in events that have yet to take place. The effects of this movie are very good, and although not the most convincing at times, I feel it adds to the atmosphere of the movie and does not take away from the experience. People's opinion on whether or not The Terminator is a horror movie proved to be very divisive most of the time. However, I believe that The Terminator is very much a horror movie, and probably the darkest movie in the franchise. The film makes heavy use of tech-noir themes and undertones, a genre of fiction heavily popularized by Ridley Scott's science fiction epic, Blade Runner. This film will evoke terror in the viewer, leaving anyone watching this movie on the edge of their seat the whole time. Certain sequences in this movie feel straight out of a nightmare, which is funny because James Cameron actually created this movie based on a nightmare he had while he was staying at a hotel in 1981. The way he described the nightmare was that it was like the image of a chrome skeleton emerging from a fire. I believe certain standout moments in this film include Kyle Reese's monologue about the Terminator at the police station.
Well, let's go back to one other thing.
Look, you have heard enough. I have answered your questions. Now I have to see Sarah Connor.
I'm afraid that's not up to me.
Why am I talking to you?
Because I
Who is
don't-
an authority here?
Please, listen.
Shut up! You still don't get it, do you? He'll find her. That's what he does. That's all he does. You can't stop him. He'll wait for you, reach down her throat, and pull her fucking heart out.
Doug.
Let go of me!
Actor Michael Biehn, who was mostly unknown at the time this movie was filmed, gave his all in this movie, and it shows. He does an amazing job portraying Kyle Reese's internal struggle, and adjusting to life in the present after a life of pain and torment as a result of the war against the machines in the future. I also believe another standout moment in this film is the factory sequence, in which Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese are chased through the factory by the Terminator, making use of disturbing effects that, as I said earlier, feel straight out of a nightmare. The romance plotline is the heart of this movie's story, as the romance is what leads to John Connor's birth occurring in the future, and John Connor becoming the leader of the resistance that fights to destroy Skynet. Overall, I believe this is a great movie, and a must-watch for anyone into sci-fi or horror. I don't believe in numbered ratings, so I'll just say, I strongly recommend this movie.